Hello, welcome to the Roundhouse podcast with Paul Solentrop of Wichita State University Strategic Communications. Thank you for listening. Today we have Butch Pierre. Butch is an assistant coach for the men's basketball staff. He joined Wichita State in April after working at the University of Texas, El Paso. Butch's career also includes working at places such as Memphis, Oklahoma State, LSU, and North Carolina State. He was an assistant on the LSU staff that went to the Final Four in 2006. He has pictures on his wall to tell you about some of the guys he has recruited over the years, some names you will recognize: Marcus Smart, Tyrus Thomas, Stromiel, am I pronouncing that right? Stromiel Swift, Glenn Big Baby Davis, and Brandon Bass, and there's more. Butch played at Mississippi State from 1980 to 84. He has a book you can purchase if you want to go to Amazon.com called Growing Up Great, Life Lessons and Coaching. Butch, tell us about what brought you here to Wichita State.
Well, I guess it's, Isaac Brown, he's the one that, because of my relationship with him over the last 30 years, he's the biggest reason why I came. And I'm at a point in my career right now that, I want to be around good people, a great staff, and then be in a program that have a chance of doing something special. I've been, throughout my career, I've had an opportunity to like you say, go to a Final Four and win the conference championships in different leagues. And, once you get to a Final Four and you win championships, it's like you always want to go back. So, obviously, that was the biggest reason for me coming here and in the right fit. And I heard so many things about it over the years from Isaac and also Greg Marshall, and then followed the program. And I just think that they have all the fundamentals and elements to be successful here.
Yeah, you would have been familiar with Wichita State. Wichita State and LSU played a couple times when you were on the staff there. You were at Memphis. So from being in college basketball over the last 20 or 25 years, what were your impressions of Wichita State? What did you heard? What did you see about the program?
Well, it's just, no matter who's the head coach, you have a winning tradition here. And it started way back, in the 70s, and, getting people from all over the country to come and play here, and, doing changing times. It just seems as though the area of Wichita have embraced, people from all different areas, and they've had a lot of success. Obviously, going to a Final Four and, with Cheese and the X-Man and all the great players that have played here, winning has been a winning tradition here for a long time. And so those things are, important in winning. So you would have had two up-close looks at Wichita State basketball when you were on the LSU staff. Early in the 06-07 season, Mark Turgeon was a Shocker coach. Shockers went down to Louisiana State, won 57-53. And then the next year, Greg Marshall's first year, LSU came up here. Shocker victory, 67-47. How did those meetings with the Shockers kind of introduce you to Shocker basketball? Well, I heard a lot about it, I guess over the years because of my relationship with the Wichita staff, before I even got here, 10 years, And, our Final Four team, we started out 8-6. And, we had a lottery number 2 player picking the draft on that team and all that. And number 4, and Glenn Davis. And I think it was a turning point on our team, Turge brought a team down there, and we played him on our home court, and he came in there and he beat us. The game was played the way it's supposed to be played. I think it was a low-scoring game, and he beat us. That's the Final Four team. I think a team should have won a national championship, and he beat us. And, I was like, ooh, this is Wichita State now. That's some serious stuff. We got to go back there that following year. And so we went back the following year. And we had 4 guys on that team that played in the NBA, and one of them still playing. And we roll in here, and we walk out here, and I said, man, what are we doing here? It was 10 or 12,000. The place was packed. And they just ran us out of the gym. But it was unbelievable atmosphere. Probably one of the best of my top 4 or 5 atmospheres that I ever been in. And I've been in just about all of them, including Duke. And it was unbelievable. And so I can remember that. So I'm excited to see that magnitude of that. That was one of my attractions for coming, because of all the tradition and everything. And so I think we got all of everything, like I say, with the president, and like I told you about, the athletic director. And I think everything's put in place to be successful, or continue the success that they've always had.
You mentioned the new athletic director, Kevin Saul. He's been very busy out meeting people. What's been your impression of being around Kevin?
Very good. I mean, he's young and very innovative, and hands-on. In terms of trying to make everything better, from the relationship piece and the head coach assistants and administration, and also the facilities and the facelift of all that, and then all the ideas that a guy like he has. I think that's the growing trends of athletics in college basketball now, and football and athletic programs. I've seen it done a lot of ways, because obviously I coached at LSU, at Oklahoma State, and I think got the right guy, and I say that candidly, because I know you got to win, and so I've been under that situation of duress. But I would say the same thing if I wasn't here, and for it's what I see. So he's very innovative, and I think that's sometimes that's what a program needs.
So I remember two things about going to LSU to cover that game in 2006. One was Mike the Tiger and his cage outside his habitat outside the basketball arena. That was impressive. And I remember how well Ryan Martin played against Glenn Big Baby Davis. So my question is, do they ever let you feed Mike the Tiger? Do you ever get to have any interactions as a member of the LSU staff? Do you get to throw a piece of meat into the Tiger cage?
No. I tell you, but he lives good. He got a $2 million habitat, and he eats good too.
I remember that $2 million figure exactly. When they told me that, I thought there's a sign how much money there is in college athletics.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Rick Muma, president of Wichita State University. Check out the latest episode of the Forward Together podcast. Each episode, I sit down with different guests from Shocker Nation to celebrate the vision and mission of Wichita State University. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Why did you get into coaching?
Well, the biggest thing, I guess, I would say, since I was 14 years old, I really was a better football player than I was basketball. I remember the time I told my dad I wasn't going to play football. I thought he was going to put me out the house, but I probably could have played in the NFL. But I chose basketball. That was my passion, and I gave up every other sport to do that. And once I gave up basketball, I gave up football. Basketball was one of those things that just drove me, and I started getting heavily recruited. And I was a heavily recruited guy coming out of Louisiana, and I think that helped me a lot in the recruiting aspect. It also helped me to deal with players and understand what they are thinking in the recruiting process, and all the things that they went through. And I also, when I was a player at Mississippi State, I always host the players when they came in. I was always around the office. I had great relationships with the assistant coaches and the head coach, Coach Boyd, who I played for. And then I could see that it was one of those things that I was really, really good at. I was good at, the philosophy of the head coach and the relationship piece because of my background in Louisiana and my parents. I could really get people to really trust me and trust what I say. I can sell anything. And it's just, I enjoy people, the people area, and enjoy the development with the young guys and also staffs, and see it grow and turn into something special. And I knew that's what I wanted to do when I was in college. And I went straight to graduate school and got my master's and everything, and jumped straight into coaching. And it really, I do it for free, but my wife ain't gonna allow that.
No, that's not. Yeah, don't say that too loud. What position did you play in football?
I played cornerback and wide receiver.
Okay.
Cornerback and wide receiver, and we had some special teams my 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. And, like I said, sometimes I think about it, but, it was one of those things that I chose, and I was pretty good at it.
Coaching mentors, who is your go-to guy? You have a question about your career, strategy, advice, mentorship. Who do you list as kind of your role model?
It's all different. It's kind of a couple of old school guys, as I say, as young people say. I call it legendary guys, and Hall of Famer type coaches. And I developed a relationship. I would say maybe I would guess 35 years ago with Tubby Smith, when he wasn't the Tubby Smith, national championship Hall of Famer type guy. When he was just a guy out there recruiting, I kind of try to emulate who he was and his thought process, because of what people thought about him, and his attitude and the way he go about his business is kind of different than most people, because he's a people person and people trust him, and everybody likes him. I really know who he really is. So, but he will probably be my go-to area when I talk about, family values, and then making a decision based upon, family and things like that. Little Hamilton from Florida State, he would probably be one of the guys that I learned from in terms of recruiting and making decisions for as my career in basketball. He's one of the guys that I kind of look up to, and I call from time to time with him. And some guys that's out of the business now, like Wade Houston. A great coach, business guy. I hadn't talked to Wade in a long time. And a guy by the name of Clint Bryant, he's a retired athletic director at Augusta College. He was more of a people person for me. And kind of got me started in a career by putting my name out there when I was a young man. And also Dwayne Casey, Dwayne Casey, an NBA coach who I kind of looked up to. He was a consistent coach at Kentucky, and now he's an NBA head coach. He was a guy that everybody wanted to be like when they were young, and I had great relationships with those guys. I learned from those guys. I took a lot of nuggets from those guys, and they were the best in the business at the time.
So some Shocker connections there. Shocker fans would be familiar with Tubby Smith, who really had great success at Tulsa, and then was at Memphis. And Dwayne Casey then would have coached Fred VanVleet for at least a season or two with the Toronto Raptors. Okay, I've got the all SEC teams from your era. You played at Mississippi State from 80 to 84, 81 to 84. Here are some of the names on the all SEC teams from those years. Dominique Wilkins, Dale Ellis at Tennessee, Charles Barkley at Auburn, Chuck Person at Auburn. A lot of talent in the SEC. Hit us with a story or two. What do you remember about your days playing against those teams?
Oh, man, I played with a guy by the name of Jeff Malone, and he was, I think, the 9th player pick in the draft, played 12 to 15 years in the league. And at that time, in the Southeast Conference, all those guys are, Dominique and Barkley, you're talking about Hall of Fame guys. I just remembered, and also playing against Clyde Drexler, University of Houston. They weren't in our conference, but we played a game against them every year. And everybody knows Clyde. And I also visited University of Houston, and Clyde took me out on a visit. But what I remember most is Dominique Wilkins. Unbelievable athlete. A player that I never seen until I recruited Stromile Swift, but never seen that was so quick and so athletic. And he always went to his right. He really couldn't go left, but you couldn't stop him from going right. And I just remember one time I was at the free throw line, and somebody shot the ball. And in those days, and not even now, guys, they would just fight for rebounds. In other words, they waited for the ball to come outside the cylinder before they snatched it. And those guys were so great and so great athletically that it was just unbelievable just to sit there and watch. And all of a sudden, I just seen this skinny black arm just rose up above everybody. I mean, maybe about 5 feet in the air. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this guy's unbelievable. And then he just caught it. And when he caught the ball, his back was turned to the basket, and he jumped actually from his back, turned to the basket, and turned around and just kind of tomahawked the ball and dunked it through the rim. I thought that was just I was like, whoa, that was one of the great moments. And another time I was running back on defense, and I was like, man, I'm going to be able to stop this or take a charge. And Charles Barkley was running from the right side, and they threw an alley who passed to him on the right side of the glass. And I actually backed up to say, oh, okay, this ball going out of bounds. So I was almost walking out of bounds, and he caught it from behind the glass and then brought it back around and dunked it. And he ran his mouth the whole entire time, but that was just some of the highlights. I got a bunch of stories.
I can imagine. So are you saying, could you have been a part of the Phi Slamma Jamma group then at Houston? That was your era, right?
Yeah, that was my era. I never forget that. That's why I say about the recruiting process. Guy Lewis came down, watched me practice, offered me a scholarship on the spot. And when in the spring, it was different. I took all 5 of my visits. First, actually, time I ever been on an airplane. They flew a private plane down there, picked me up on a private plane. You can't do that according to the NCAA rules. And I was on a private plane by myself, to Houston. And when I got there, it had a guy by the name of Rob Williams. He's a point guard. He was a lottery pick. And also Clyde Drexler was on that team. And those guys were waiting for me at the airport. And, I just thought that was unbelievable. But that was the first time I actually been on an airplane.
That would make quite an impression. Yeah, what a recruiting visit. Jeff Malone, you mentioned your teammate, had a long NBA career. I associate him with the Washington Bullets. He played for them for quite a while. Excellent. All right. Different topic. You are quite the fisherman, I understand. Give us some of your secrets, your love for bass fishing.
Well, growing up in Louisiana, like to fish, like to hunt. I won't have any problems when I retire someday, if I retire, but because I have so much great hobbies, that's great habits, and fishing is one of them. My college teammate Jeff Norwood was a great fisherman. He's actually a high school basketball coach in Gulfport. He's really the one that really got me off into bass fishing. I was a saltwater guy, catching some red snapper and triggerfish, things like that. If guys don't really know what triggerfish is, that's the best eating fried fish you can eat. But
say that again.
Triggerfish. Yeah.
Okay. Describe a triggerfish.
It's a flaky fish. It's not too steaky, and it's not too fishy. It's a great fish to grill and everything. But it's the closest thing to me to a freshwater bass. But bass fishing is my thing, and I've gotten some trophy bass in different areas, even at Oklahoma State when I worked there. I made a trophy bass out there in the ponds, and now I caught the biggest pond, probably the biggest bass in Isaac's Pond, Isaac's Lake rather. But that's one of the things I really like to do is just bass fish.
Okay, what's the biggest bass you've gotten?
The biggest bass is a 12-pounder.
12-pounder, all right.
Yeah, 12-pounder. And my wife's not far behind. She got a 9-pounder. She takes up. My house is bigger than mine, but I taught her how to bass fish. But a 12-pounder, I got several bass fishes on my wall. Okay.
Do you have favorite recipes, ways of fixing the fish that you catch?
Yeah, Louisiana guy. Obviously, I can cook, so I cook fish, 3 or 4 different ways. Grill it. And, I like my fish fried, obviously, and, baked and sauteed in certain seasons and things like that. But I'm more of a crawfish eater and a crab ball eater, really. Crawfish is my favorite food, next to a steak.
Okay. How about alligator?
Yeah, I like fried alligator. You got to fry it a certain way, but, I'm not too much of an alligator eater, but, fish is my thing.
Sure. We mentioned some of the people you've recruited over the years. Give us a description of your style, evaluating, recruiting. What kind of makes that whole picture work?
Recruiting has changed over the years. Obviously, you cannot develop relationships because of the number of days you can go out recruiting. There's not a lot of contacts. There used to be unlimited contact when I first started, but now you have certain times you can contact and evaluate in certain times of the year. But I was raised in the house with a politician. My dad was a city councilman, and we always had people coming over all the time, and it was always relationships, and it was always trying to get people to vote for you, and it was always a need for help in certain areas. And I had a mother that was very kind-hearted, that would sell a shirt off, give a shirt off her back to someone, if they needed a meal or any guidance on anything. I mean, that's part of my family. And I think, and it's most coaches probably, as far as the relationship piece, the biggest thing with me was, and I tell people this all the time, everybody always asks, why you're such a great evaluator. I started evaluating on the playground. In other words, if I wanted to be out there, it was me and my friend went to, New Orleans or some city where, you get on the court, and if you lose the game, you got to wait another hour. And so I would have to pick somebody that I didn't know to be on my team, like 3 other guys. And they would always say, you pick them. And I would pick some of the guys that wasn't the best players on the playground. And we would stay on the court. So I think what happens, the biggest thing is the evaluation piece. Evaluation piece in terms of knowing what kind of player he is, what kind of player he's going to be in the future, his strengths and weaknesses, and his basketball IQ, his skill level. Toughness is the hardest thing to measure. As far as when adversity sets in, and how he react, and how he plays under adverse condition. But most people like guys who can run and jump. That's not the thing. And so I would say the evaluation piece and the relationship piece in terms of having credibility with the mom, the dad, the player, the coach, the janitor in the school. I was telling somebody the other day, the best people you talk to in recruiting is the people on the street, the janitor, the cook, and that's, like I say, those things you can't do anymore. Most of the time, the people talking to AAU coaches, and they're not going to tell you the truth. But just the relationship piece, and I was, that's pretty much the key. And it started when they were young. When you recruit guys when they're young in their development stage, I was able to develop that kind of relationships, and I don't, and it's not all about me, but I didn't make a lot of mistakes in recruiting. People make mistakes in recruiting, and then they make excuses after they get the player. I just never made excuses, but the players always turned out good. Majority of the time, they did.
So by talking to the janitor, you find out what they're like. Maybe when people aren't watching, you get a little bit more of an insight into that person's character.
That's exactly right. And most of those schools, when you walk through the door at a high school, I mean, even a junior college, it don't really matter. The police officer now, they have police officers at schools now. So, that's one of the guys, just, your first question you ask, does he come to school on time? What do everybody think about him? What is his emotional intelligence, man? When somebody gets on him or not. Does he hang out in the hallway? Who he hangs out with. Is he in the gym all the time? Who he responds to. His mom, the coach, some influential person. And then you've seen his development, et cetera, et cetera. So, and a lot of times, the cook that's there at the school, the janitor, the police officer, the teacher that is not involved in him, they know who he is. They're gonna tell you the truth. And I have certain nuggets and a recruiting plan that I've developed for myself over the years, and I've used that and have checks and balances off, and it's kind of worked.
Okay. Shockers are full go into practice. Season is getting nearer and nearer. Wichita State has its tip-off luncheon October 14th. Shocker Madness is on October 27th. Take us inside practice a little bit. Who's making a good impression on you in these early days of practice?
Well, Kenny Poto, he's a good player. He's not overly athletic, but he has a good basketball IQ. And I think he was real athletic the way he plays. He would have a chance to make money playing this game, but he just knows how to play. He's at the right level. And I think if he sticks it out, he can end up being a very good basketball player. And if we can keep him here the whole entire time, he can help us win a lot of games, maybe a championship. The point guard, obviously.
Craig Porter.
when you got a guy that's a 4-year, 5-year player back, knows the system, been through the grind. He's been a great leader without talking. He's not a vocal leader. And he's just kind of a silent assassin kind of guy. I mean, he talks to guys, and they all, so he's impressed me. I'm glad he's back. That's 5 or 10 more games you're going to win because he's back, And another player that's kind of impressed me, but I already knew how good he was because I recruited him, was Jaykwon Walton. I think Jaquan is a special talent. I think he has a chance to make money playing this game. He's a perfect fit for Coach Brown, and that's what I say about recruiting. Sometimes guys make decisions based upon where somebody tell them to go or the conference. And this young man personality fits with Coach Brown, and in terms of him being able to get him to play at a high level for long periods of time, and because of his emotional development, and I think he's a hell of a talent because he had different gears, and he's 6'7", he can shoot the ball. He's impressed me probably the most.
Jaykwon is one of the new guys on the team, so I'll give the fans a little bit of a background. Played at Shelton State Junior College, guard, listed at 6'7", 206. Tell us a little bit about his game. How do you describe what he does on the court?
Well, I think he's one of those guys. He can guard 1 through 4 positions. A lot of guys can't do that. He can play 1 through 4 positions. Even though he's not quite a point, but he has those type of skills because he's a great passer. He has great instincts. His basketball IQ is very, very good because he for us defensively, he knows what positions to be in. He's been coached obviously because he had a good college coach at Georgia. But offensively, he can really he shoots the 3 ball very, very good, particularly when they're unguarded. But he can get right by you when he wants to, and he can finish in transition, and he just has that different gear. When guys have a different gear from everybody else, you can be able to see that he could be a special type player. Now, obviously, if he plays at that level all the time, then he'll be he could be an all league guy here. And same thing with Butch Pierre, but that's why they're here. And he's one of those kids that's talented too. But, if he gets, I always say, if you get out of your own way, if he gets out of his own way, he could be able to be a good player too.
Jaykwon Pierre, another newcomer, transfer from Southern Mississippi.
Yeah.
So every time I bump into one of the players or coaches or watch practice for a little bit, the players say we're working on defense. Defense has been the emphasis over the summer and into the fall. Tell us a little bit about that. Why the emphasis on defense and how's it going?
Well, I don't know about that. Over the summer we worked mostly on offense, and I can see why. Because the offensive system is a kind of what I call a complicated system because, I guess over the years and with Coach Brown and being here for 8 years, with Coach Marshall, a lot of things are, implemented, entwined. And it takes a lot of technique and thought process offensively, with the plays, the schemes, different types of sets and all those things. And I think Coach Brown's done a great job at that. Everywhere I've been, each coach philosophy and style is different. And that's why, I kind of stay out of the way also because, Travis Ford's style was different. We weren't big in the Big 12. Obviously, John's style with Brady was different. At LSU, a guy by the name of Mel Wilkins at Conference USA, his style was different, and we won at a high level. So, I kind of stay out of the way because it works. I mean, it wouldn't have worked if we wouldn't have won the conference championship and stuff like that. But offensively, we did a lot of things in the summer. We have to get better defensively, and that's probably why, because we hadn't did as much defensive stuff in the summer as probably what I thought, but we got to develop that toughness now in rebounding and defending like they've been doing for the last 10 years. And obviously the last 2 years with Coach Brown just couldn't score the ball last year. But and hopefully if we play as good a defense as they did the last 2 years, we'll win some games because I think we may be a little bit better offensively.
Okay. Butch, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Roundhouse podcast, courtesy of Wichita State University Strategic Communications. We appreciate your time. We encourage you to rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, such as on iTunes or Google Play. You can find more Roundhouse content at GoShockers.com. Thank you for listening.
And they let him pass it up court, and then it gets picked off. A long three by Pangos, no good. 1 second, it's over. It is over, and Wichita State has beaten the #1 team in the nation to go